to say it, but his parents have been feeling unwell as of late, and I'm staying with them to help take care of Alex.
Oh, so it's serious.
Oh, no, it's not serious. Nothing terminal. It's just a touch of consumption.
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking maybe he got too gay with the Vestal Virgins in the temple. We're talking my pool is sometimes troubled. And we're talking no man has ever suffered for a woman the way you have suffered for me. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking one of the most abrupt endings I have ever seen in a movie.
Oh my god, it feels like a B picture, and lo and behold, we're in and out in 70 minutes.
Yes, we are, everyone. We are discussing Karl Freund's 1932 film, The Mummy, the original flavor.
Original flavor, which you almost have to say, because at this point, we are so many mummies deep.
Oh my god, I know. I mean, what, we have a Mummy coming out this year, we have a Mummy coming out next year. Everything's coming up Mummy.
Wait, what's the Mummy coming out next year?
The Mummy 4, the one with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz.
Oh shit, I'd already forgotten about it. You know what? Until they start production on it, I just can't believe it's even happening. But yes. And folks, of course, if you're wondering what's The Mummy coming out this year, it would be Lee Cronin's The Mummy, which is coming out this week, which is why, of course, we're actually talking about this film.
Yes, and of course, over on the Patreon, we also have an audio commentary on the Tom Cruise The Mummy from 2017.
Yes, that one and done.
Please go listen to it, but I will say I just watched that last night. It was my first time viewing, and holy shit.
yeah, it's a lot, and it's also a little, because there's not much to it.
Exactly. But Joe, this was your first time watching The Mummy from 1932, correct?
It was indeed, yeah. So I had definitely seen clips of this, because this is a Universal monster, super duper famous, but I have always heard from folks that this is not really one of the classics. It's not quite as beloved as, you know, your Dracula, your Frankenstein, your Wolfman, and so on. So I was eager for a chance to actually check it out.
Yeah, and so I guess then, compared to all the other Universal monster films we've covered, you know, we've done Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, we've done Old Dark House, we've done Creature from the Black Lagoon, we've done The Wolfman, Invisible Man. Where does this stack for you? Do you think it's kind of the least memorable out of all of them, like I do?
Okay, tipping your hand very, very early. Yeah, I can say that this isn't my favorite. I can understand why. I think you told me offline you find this just a little bit boring. Like, it's a little bit not enough there. And I can definitely see that. I feel like this is the first text where I really look at it and say, oh, this runtime is actively hurting the film. There just is not enough time to do interesting things with all these people, which is unfortunate, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this has one of the best female characters in one of the Universal monster films.
That to me, and again, I don't think this is a bad movie by any means. I just think that compared to those other films, this just doesn't have the same zest to it. And
yeah, like there aren't really even set pieces, are there?
No, and it also might be because that this is a horror film, kind of, but it's also more of a romance. Like, this is a film where the titular monster is kind of a main character of the movie.
Well, and kind of like Dracula, he's not always playing a threatening figure, right? You know, in some of these other texts, like Invisible Man, he's just hamming it up, but actively looking to kill people. Creature from the Black Lagoon doesn't say anything. That's a little bit romantic, but he's also actively preying on people. Here, it kind of feels like Imhotep would be happy if people just left him alone so that he can grab Helen, so that he can get back to this life that was interrupted that he originally had planned for them.
Yeah, there are a lot of parallels in the plot to the Dracula with Bela Lugosi, but I do think that the Mummy, the Imhotep character himself, is more akin to something like Frankenstein, in the sense that I sympathize with Imhotep in this movie.
I do as well, and I'm going to say part of that is Karloff's performance in this film, because I truly think he's doing some really good, interesting stuff. Not gonna lie, giving him the Halo Morticia Addams lighting thing is fan-fucking-tastic. I also think that the main reason to check this movie out, folks, if you have not, if you were like me and just kind of waiting around to hit play, the main reason to check it out is the makeup work on him.
Well, it's very subtle, but like it's very
so subtle.
I mean, it's there, and truthfully, and I'll go into this in my production, Joe, but it was the most painstaking makeup that Karloff had to suffer, even more so than the Frankenstein makeup.
Oh, geez, really? Oh, that's rough, because you told me about that, and that sounded like a hardship.
Yeah, so everyone, I mean, go all those episodes I just talked about, be it Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, all that shit. Go listen to that because, well,
listen to all that old shit. Yeah, do it.
I cut some corners in my production because some of it was repeat material from what we've talked about in those other episodes already. So
sure, yeah.
Yeah, but let's go into this. And I am pulling pretty much all of my production history from the featurette Mummy Dearest, a horror tradition unearthed that's included with pretty much every physical release of this movie.
Yeah, it felt like there was a lot of carryovers on different iterations, because I looked at one featurette, I was like, okay, this seems like it could be interesting for my own personal understanding of this movie, not trying to step on your toes, knowing you'd give me the production. And it was basically just an advertisement for the 1999 remake. It was hilarious. It was like, yes, we all loved the original 1932 Mummy. Here's how we're going to remake it with Stephen Sommers. And I was like, why is this on here? What is this to do with this movie?
And that makes sense, though, because I bet you the DVD for this came out around the time of 1999 when that movie came out. But yeah, okay. So by the time Karloff started The Mummy, the public was already familiar with the mysteries of ancient Egypt through the discovery a decade earlier of King Tut's tomb in November of 1922.
Okay.
Now, because the world loves a good story, the press fueled stories of a deadly curse that would strike down all those who disturbed Tut's resting place. So naturally, if anyone died who had even a tangential relationship to anyone who was around when the tomb was opened, it would be front page news.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
But even though the curse was bogus, the Egyptian belief in immortality wasn't, and not like resurrection, like, oh, we're going to come back to life, but it's like you will stay through the afterlife. So to assure a lasting afterlife, an elaborate ritual of mummification evolved, with the jackal-headed god Anubis presiding over the embalming rites, which took, Jesus Christ, 70 days to complete.
Whoa, that is a big commitment. But typically, we're also not doing this for just anybody. These are famous rich people. Yeah.
This is like Egyptian royalty and things like that. Unless you were a naughty boy.
Oh, like in this movie.
Or in the 1999 one that's, there. Yeah. Mummify people alive. Which, by the way, watching horror films, I always think about, it's like, what is like the last type of death I would ever want to have? And there's a long list, but being mummified alive is pretty close to the top.
It sounds pretty awful. Yeah.
I mean, it's not even just like getting your organs taken out, your tongue, you're wrapped up, you're stuck in the sarcophagus, you have to die there. Oh, it's horrible. Anyway, because Hollywood never passes up an opportunity to capitalize on real world events, Universal Studios started developing a film that would become The Mummy. But interestingly enough, the first draft of the screenplay was not originally an Egyptian story at all. So, female screenwriter and journalist Nina Wilcox Putnam was asked to develop a vehicle for Karloff, and she came up with something called Cagliostro, which is based on the legend of a historical figure that claimed to live for centuries by injecting himself with nitrates.
Oh.
It sounds like he would hoodwink a lot of rich people. But he was a poor Italian in the 18th century who passed himself off as an alchemist and a hypnotist, becoming a fashionable figure in the aristocratic society of France.
Cool. So what you're saying is a poor person hoodwinked a bunch of rich people so that they could live a little better. I'm in support.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this version obviously did not get made, and Putnam's story was substantially revised by John L. Balderston, a playwright who had collaborated both on Dracula and Frankenstein. So I actually don't know why they went to Putnam first. But they did, and then they had Balderston come in and just rewrite everything. But Balderston was also a history buff, so he knew a lot about Egypt and mummies. He had also covered the opening of Tut's tomb for the New York World when he was a journalist.
Wow.
His screenplay renamed the mummy Imhotep after the real Egyptian architect who built the first pyramid. He also changed the story from one of revenge upon all women who resembled Imhotep's ex-lover to the one where the main character is determined to revive his old love by killing and mummifying her reincarnated self with the Scroll of Thoth.
Yeah, not gonna lie, it definitely feels more appropriate for the kinds of films that we were making. This movie has that swashbuckling kind of, it's not so much about vengeance, right? It's about let's make sure that this could be appealing to female audiences as well. So it does feel like we're still going to do the action adventure stuff. It's still going to be mystery, intrigue, foreign destinations, but also lead with the love story so we can get 50% of our movie-going audience interested.
Exactly. And you can definitely see the pieces they took from this when making the 1999 The Mummy. But
God, yeah.
I think it's safe to say that that's still a very loose adaptation of this movie.
I will say, there were a number of times where I just thought, okay, so the 1999 film really did watch this and took notes, because a lot of plot points just felt lifted directly from it. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. You know, it's definitely an updated version and they did their own thing. But there were several times where I thought, oh, wow, okay, yeah, I can see why that one is considered a remake.
I think it's a thing, too. I mean, because, granted, The Mummy Returns, we get the whole thing with Rachel Weisz's character being the reincarnation form of Nefertiti, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
but I guess it would have been more of a close remake if we had either Patricia Velasquez playing Evie in the present day, or if Rachel Weisz played Anck-es-en-Amon in the past.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, though, we call her Anck-es-en-Amon in the original movie. And it took typing this out in my notes is a pain in the ass. I just copied and pasted. But still, I have Anck-es-en-Amon just like imprinted in my brain. So forgive me if I say that instead of Anck-es-en-Amon during this recording.
Oh, I'm just doing a preemptive blanket statement. I will not even be trying to. I will just be saying Anck-es-en-Amon.
The princess. Okay. Anck-es-en-Amon. See, but Anck-es-en-Amon, it's because we grew up with it, right?
100%. Like I can't rewire my brain. I'm over 40. I'm not doing it.
There you go. But anyway, so for a while, though, the movie was actually called Imhotep. That was the working title. And then it was
boo.
That changed to King of the Dead, and then it became The Mummy.
You know what? King of the Dead's not bad either.
Yeah, I actually think it's pretty good. Okay, for the directing gig, we have the directorial debut of Karl Freund, a celebrated German cinematographer who had already shot Dracula, as well as the highly expressionistic Murders in the Rue Morgue, which also starred Bela Lugosi.
Which, by the way, I think we're going to have to do one of these
I think
days.
so, too. Murders in the Rue Morgue and I think London After Midnight are the two that I really want to cover.
Okay. I'll make a note.
Filming began in September of 1932 and was scheduled for 3 weeks with a budget of $196,000. Much like Frankenstein, Karloff would wear extraordinary makeup created by Universal's resident wizard, Jack Pierce. Again, go listen to our previous episodes for his backstory. It was very subtle makeup, but at the time, it was very frightening because I guess if you knew what Karloff looked like, it was like, oh yeah, it's really just wrinkles.
Yeah, but they vary depending on scene to scene and like who he is. If he's trying to do Art at Bay or if he's doing Imhotep, it does seem almost driven by his whims or which character he's playing.
I actually really did like the Art at Bay because that's Odette Fair's character's name in The Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so in preparation for the makeup, studio publicity claimed that Pierce had studied ancient Egyptian embalming techniques, but apparently no one really knows what kind of research he did. Like, none of that was ever actually confirmed. It might have been just like a press puff piece.
Okay.
But putting the makeup on and taking it off for The Mummy took a very long time, even longer than the makeup for Frankenstein. So basically, Pierce began transforming Karloff at 11 a.m., applying Egyptian cotton, spirit gum, and collodion, a flammable syrupy solution of nitrocellulose in ether and alcohol, basically plastic, to his face, clay to his hair, and he also wrapped him in the linen bandages that were treated with acid and burnt in an oven for the opening scene of the movie.
Right.
This would be done at 7 p.m., so 8 hours is what all of this took.
What?
Karloff would finish his scenes at 2 a.m., and another 2 hours were spent removing the makeup, and then he would be back at 11 a.m. the next day.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah. Pierce would use an old age stipple where he would stretch the skin on Karloff's face, I think like a facelift, you know, paint some spirit gum on it, then put cotton on it, and then glue it on, put more spirit gum on it or collodion, let it dry, and then basically once it dried, he would then let go of the skin, and when it went back to its normal spot, that would give it the wrinkle effect.
Oh, interesting. God, that just seems like so much work for such an understated result.
That's the thing. So it was a very tedious and time-consuming process for Karloff, and it was excruciatingly painful, that's a direct quote, to take the makeup off. And to add insult to injury, when they wrapped him for the opening scene, they forgot to give him a fly.
Oh my God, come on.
Yeah. Now, also, bear in mind, they didn't have 12-hour work days at this time, so they would sometimes work until dawn.
Oh boy, long days.
Mm-hmm. Now, the featurette doesn't go into casting too much, except in the case of Zita Johann, who portrays the best female character, Helen / Anck-es-en-Amon in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Anck-es-en-Amon, by the way, named after the only wife of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, whose body was missing from the pharaoh's tomb.
Mysteries.
Now, Johann was a Hungarian-born New York stage actress who had been a powerhouse Broadway actress in the 20s, but she had no respect for Hollywood, and this is a direct quote from her. "I have more respect for the whores on 42nd Street than I did for the stars in Hollywood."
How do you really feel, girl?
But she had a genuinely deep interest in the occult sciences and the concept of reincarnation, so the film interested her.
Right. Yeah. I think I saw on her Wikipedia page that she not only believed in it, but she kind of gently practiced living a mystic life. I think she claimed that she had levitated at some point.
Exactly that. Which, I mean, this woman just sounds very fascinating. Honestly, I would love to see an interview with her again. But
yeah, but she hated making this movie, did she not?
Well, she didn't. Not necessarily the movie. She had, to put it mildly, a not very happy working relationship with the director Freund. He tried to use her as a scapegoat for many of his mistakes. So, for example, one time he asked her to portray the ending scene nude from the waist up with her breasts exposed, thinking that she would, well, here's the thing. So he thought that she would immediately refuse, and then he'd be able to go to the studio and complain about this demanding Hungarian actress who wouldn't do as he said. But
oh my God,
Johann was smarter than that. She goes, "Okay, yeah, I'll do that as long as you can get it past the censors," which she knew he couldn't do. So she had him there. And in another instance, he refused to let her have a chair with her name on it. He would make her stand when she wasn't in front of the camera to avoid getting wrinkles in her dress. But apparently she adored Boris Karloff, so they got along really well.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, yeah, I guess they share most of their scenes together, apart from the scenes she has with Frank.
Oh, talk about a boring character. But yeah, I wish I had a happy ending for you with the conflict between her and Freund, but there isn't really a resolution to it. It's just like he was an asshole to her. She made it through.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, as I said, I went on her Wikipedia page because I did find her super captivating. She reminded me of the actress from Dracula's Daughter.
Yeah.
Not the same actress, by the way, but like they do have very similar, very dark features, and it just feels like the camera loves them. They're so magnetic on screen. So I wanted to see, is she in any other movies that I might be familiar with? And she wasn't, but it's because she hated Hollywood so much. She didn't make a ton. So she spent a lot of time going back to the theater, which appeared to be her one true love. Like she even wrote plays and I think even directed a couple. So
yeah, I mean, she probably couldn't get out of Hollywood fast enough.
Yeah.
But Universal Pictures released The Mummy theatrically in the U.S. on December 22nd, 1932. And remember, they filmed this in September of 1932.
I can't.
It was a box office success, albeit not as successful as Dracula or Frankenstein. But many critics took note of the film's similarities to that of Dracula, with the New York Times even saying that it wasn't really scary, save for the opening scene and the scene depicting Imhotep's mummification, with most of the film being just a costume melodrama.
I mean, you say it like it's a bad thing.
Well, but I think if you're wanting a horror movie, imagine if the horror bros today went to a horror movie and it was a costume melodrama instead.
We'd call it A24.
There you go. But many critics did take note of the detailed recreation of Egyptian murals and hieroglyphics supervised by noted Hungarian artist Vili Pogani, which lent an unusual air of authenticity to an otherwise fantastical story. So technically and artistically, it was said to be one of the studio's most accomplished horror films to date.
Yeah, which is kind of impressive, right? Because, as I said, a lot of this film takes place in things like museums and houses. It's not like we're spending a ton of time in ancient Egypt or anything.
Exactly. So that's why I was kind of like, I guess. I mean, we're in a living room for like, I think, a fourth of this movie. But
I will say, though, like the set design is pretty good. You know, it's visually interesting to look at even when we are in fairly domestic spaces.
Well, then maybe it's a case, too, where it's like, look, how many people had access to Egyptian exhibits at their local museum, you know? So this was, even seeing this on screen would have been like revelatory for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when the kind of Egyptology mummy craze sort of swept people, because there was a period of time where rich people were actively trying to buy their own mummies. It was a whole fucking thing.
I imagine it was in the 20s in the wake of Tut's tomb.
Probably, yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely going to get up very, very briefly on one of my soapboxes at one point in this movie, just because there is a hilarious claim that the English scientists make about advancing research for humanity and scientific purpose and that kind of stuff. And we're not like this Cairo museum where we're just keeping artifacts on display. And I was like, yeah, let's definitely talk about colonialism later. But okay, movie.
Please do. But let's get a rundown of the sequels that the Mummy would get, because I always find this the most fascinating, right? Because like everyone knows the original film, but like, and we went through this with the Wolfman too, where I was like, Jesus Christ, like the continuity with this thing.
There's a lot of them, right?
Wild. But well, there is a lot of them. But here's the thing: this is the end of Imhotep, so like this story is a one and done.
Okay.
So basically, when Universal began a new cycle of horror thrillers just before World War II, and maybe that's the thing too, because the Wolfman had a pretty straightforward continuity because that first movie came out in 1941 during that renewal. If it was the early 30s like this was, you weren't really getting that. So
Right.
1940, we get The Mummy's Hand, which is neither a sequel nor a remake, so I guess a reboot?
Sure.
Imhotep was replaced by the mummy of Karis, played by Western actor Tom Tyler. But the role was so similar that footage from the original film was then shamelessly recycled, and the film reused nearly the entire score from the Frankenstein sequel, Son of Frankenstein.
Well, you got to cut corners somewhere.
Yeah, and in that one too, instead of ancient scrolls and spells, a new technique was used to revitalize the mummy, which was an elixir brewed from the precious Tana leaves. I know, I was like, you mean Tannis root, like Rosemary's Baby, but that's not the same thing.
Apparently not. Okay.
But that one, though, they did enhance his appearance in post-production with an optical effect in which Tyler's eyes were meticulously blackened frame by frame. So it looks like it actually look it up if you can. It has a really creepy look to it.
Oh, okay.
Then we have 1942's The Mummy's Tomb, which sees Lon Chaney Jr. step into the role of Karis, adding to his repertoire of Universal monsters, having already played the Wolfman in 1941 and Frankenstein and the Ghost of Frankenstein in 1942.
Right.
This was followed by 1944's The Mummy's Ghost, and finally The Mummy's Curse, which came out just 6 months later, also in 1944. Again, all dealing with Karis here. So no more Imhotep, whatever. It's not even Anck-es-en-Amon anymore. It's like Ankara is the princess's name.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. In the end, the Mummy faced the ultimate fate reserved for all Universal monsters, meeting with Abbott and Costello in 1955's Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy.
I mean, it feels like if you weren't included in that film, then you weren't a true Universal monster, right?
Absolutely. And it seems like, the 50s are where this is like the nail in the coffin for most of these franchises.
Yeah, well, by the time you get to parody, that usually means you've been played out and it's time to pack your bags and go home.
Yep, so check in when we talk about Lee Cronin's The Mummy this month.
Ooh, well, we'll see. You just alerted me that movie is over 2 hours long, so I'll be curious to see what we do with double the runtime.
I am curious. I mean, hey, you said this movie was too short, so there you go.
Yep. Watch me Goldilocks this bitch.
But Joe, what happens in this movie?
Okay, so I've got one semi-academic reference I'm going to pull in a couple of times. So it's a piece called Coming Out of the Casket. That's a recurring bit for Night Tide magazine. And this particular one is called Queer Themes in the Mummy, 1932. And it's written by non-binary writer Jonathan Greenall.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so we open with the title emblazoned on the pyramid. And then, of course, because this is a movie from the 30s or 40s, we basically just do all the credits up front.
We get all the credits up front. I do like the miniature pyramid that does the title card. We also have Swan Lake playing over the credits, which I thought was really inspired. But then this featurette told me that Swan Lake is also used in the opening credits of Dracula and Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Okay, so not helping those comparisons to Dracula then.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the entire concept of the mummies going after his love and he hypnotizes her, like that's very Dracula.
Well, and no less than 2 actors are the same from Dracula as well.
Oh, yeah. But again, that's that Universal repertoire. They just have their little clown car of actors they pull out for every movie.
You're under contract. Get your ass over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I will say, though, I like the score. You know, it's romantic. It feels like it's setting an appropriate tone. It doesn't feel completely incongruous with this Cairo setting, which is wild because it shouldn't work.
Right.
Okay, so we have text that lays out the magic words that Isis used to resurrect Osiris from the dead. And I'm just going to paraphrase a couple of key phrases. Death is but the doorway to new life, and that they will return again, etc., etc.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So basically what you need to know, these people are fated to love and die and live again forever.
Yeah.
Okay, so we fade in on Field Expedition Season 1921 in Cairo, Egypt. And the only reason that that's going to be important is because we're going to have a time jump, so we will have a different Field Expedition season.
I will say, the 10-year time jump I found pretty surprising.
It does feel like it comes out of nowhere. I'm not sure that we need it, but I guess we need to know that Ardeth Bey has gone away. Well, Imhotep went away so that he could create Ardeth Bey and come back.
Yeah, he assimilated into society. And granted, while I actually think it would have been interesting to see some of that.
Yeah. We don't have time. This movie is 70 minutes. We need to get in and out. So we are introduced to Ralph Norton, who is played by Bramwell Fletcher. He's an assistant working on this dig. We have just discovered a sarcophagus with Sir Joseph Wemple, who is played by Arthur Byron. And yeah, so they found a mummy, but they also found a crate. And we're starting to look at it. We're very intrigued and excited. Wemple has a friend and colleague in Dr. Sid Mueller, who is played by Edward Van Sloan, who he played Van Helsing in Dracula.
Oh, okay.
So he's playing the Van Helsing character here in The Mummy.
And actually, everyone, we have not covered that Dracula. And I don't think I've seen that movie since college, so.
And I've never seen it.
Yeah, well, one day.
Here's the thing. It's very easy to make any Dracula or any vampire film queer because vampires are just so inherently queer. But I'm not going to lie. Initially, I was like, oh, we're just going to cover The Mummy because there's a new Mummy film coming out. But I was happy then to get Greenall's article because it did unlock something. I'm not going to say it's our strongest queer reading we've ever covered on the show, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, we found a mummy. We've taken the lid off of this sarcophagus. We're looking inside, and it's very clear from Dr. Mueller that there's some peculiarities about both the body as well as the sarcophagus. So very quickly, we discovered that Imhotep was buried alive for treason and that he has been cursed in this life and the next. So I don't know if you've seen that Stephen Sommers movie from 1999. This all sounds very familiar.
I was so disappointed when they open up this chest that they're not melted alive with salt acid.
Right? These missed opportunities. Anyway, so the small casket that they found contains a gold box, and it has a warning from Amun-Ra that's basically, do not fucking open this.
So what does Norton want to do? Open it.
Open it immediately. Yeah. When Sir Joseph and Dr. Mueller step outside, because Dr. Mueller essentially says, let's not and say we did. You know, you invited me over here and I'm giving you a professional opinion. Don't fuck around with this shit. And meanwhile, inside, Norton is like, doo-doo-doo.
Yeah. Well, because basically just the mere act of opening this box is what awakens Imhotep. But he didn't have to read the hieroglyphs or make a chant or anything. Just opening the box awakens him.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. I definitely thought, because we see Ralph Norton gently reading the scrolls to himself, and I thought, okay, so even if you read it very quietly, apparently it will still wake up the mummy.
Oh, maybe he did. I guess because it wasn't pronounced enough to where, I guess maybe I wanted Rachel Weisz to, get that voiceover, and she's like really loudly saying the text.
Reverberating and so on. Here's the thing. You could be right. I could be right. It feels like it doesn't ultimately matter. It's basically you have disturbed one piece of this or you have done one thing, and that is enough. And now the mummy is reanimated.
Now, I will say, I actually think that I do think this opening scene is actually quite scary for this movie. I love that we keep cutting back between Norton and the mummy. And the mummy. And we're either cutting or we're panning. And we switch it up every now and then. I think it's actually a really good way to build suspense.
Yeah, it's almost the negative space thing that we expect to see in a more conventional horror film, right? Where it's, okay, what is going on here? Oh, it's out of frame. Okay, is something missing? Because, we see the mummy in the sarcophagus, and then we follow Norton, and then when we come back, all of a sudden the sarcophagus is empty, and then you start to see the mummy hand and so on.
And this is the other thing, too. So, it took so long to get Karloff wrapped in this makeup and whatever. We don't get a wide shot of him moving in this makeup. So we when he's still in the sarcophagus, we see his eyes open and we see his hands start to kind of lower.
Yeah.
But then the next thing we see is we see his hand grab the scroll, and then we see the bandages get dragged outside as he's walking away. But like, it just seems like, if you're going to put Karloff through all of that and not use like a master shot.
Yeah, in some ways I appreciate it because I do think this makes it scarier and more exciting to watch. You know, I get to use my imagination as an audience member, but I agree. If I was Karloff and I'm looking at the finished result, that's a fuck ton of work to have gone through for so little actual screen time.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, of course, this happens in movies all the time, even nowadays, but it's still just like, oh, what a bummer.
Yeah, it's got to be tough.
But I agree with you, though. I think it's smart to keep it's the Jaws effect. I mean, even though we've already seen him, but not in motion.
Mm-hmm. So before we move on from this, because, you know, we'll very quickly have Norton losing his mind, which, P.S., I also loved. I was super disappointed that Norton doesn't come back. We just learned that he died in an institution in the 10-year time jump, which I found disappointing because I would have loved to have seen more from this actor. I thought he was very... not pops off the screen, but he held my attention. Well,
because also like we watch this man go mad just from seeing the mummy, and I do think there's something very scary about someone laughing themselves insane.
Yeah, he's not screaming out of terror; he's laughing hysterically.
Yeah,
it's kind of great.
So good. Yeah, I mean, I do find most of this pretty chilling.
Yeah,
I mean, again, judging on a 1930s scale.
Sure. Yeah. So before we move on, though, I do want to quickly talk about some of the representation of identities and the romance and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to bring in Greenall here, and they say, well, this movie predates the modern use of gay. So it was Norton who basically says, oh, maybe, you know, the reason that Imhotep is in here is because he was having a gay old time with all those virgins, right?
Yeah, he got too gay with the Vestral virgins in the temple.
Yes. So, of course, folks, gay didn't mean gay as regard to sexuality in 1930. It wasn't a term that we were using. Gay meant happy. He was having too much fun with the Vestal Virgins. Right. So that is a sort of out of time context for us. But the fact that the film, sorry, this is Greenall again. The fact that the film so quickly and casually seeds the idea of ancient Egypt being a place of transgressive sexuality shows how ancient Egypt was seen in the era. So it's a perception that informs the entire film's approach to its central conceit, which is about, you know, concealing your identity so that you can fit into society, or not being true to who you really are, suppressing who you really are, and so on. So Greenall continues, according to critic Lynn Meskel, the shifting sexualities of the Egyptians have been employed as a parallel for our own experiences with little need for ancient evidence. So Meskel goes on to say, many constructions of Egypt have also been queered, as they frequently focus on characters whose sexual practices exist in opposition to the norm, which is the more traditional definition of queer, even though we have little evidence that such practices actually occurred during the era.
Okay.
Yeah. So just kind of bear in mind that the depiction of how people acted in ancient Egypt is a bit of a Hollywood construction.
Well, that's the same thing, too, because even in this featurette, it's like they say, oh, well, like, you know, the Egyptians believed in resurrection, that the dead would come back to life. And a cursory glance at any kind of research will say, actually, no. They didn't believe in resurrection. They believe in reincarnation, but resurrection, like, it was a lasting afterlife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like everything was about taking your positions with you because you're going to need them for the next stage. But it's not like, oh, I'm going to be reborn. It's not like a Jesus in the 3 days kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, back to the film. So we jump ahead 10 years, and now Sir Joseph's son, Frank, who was played by David Manners, who, P.S., played... guess which character in Dracula?
It was Harker. It was Harker, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 100% Harker, because this dude, here's the thing. I don't think he's terrible, but he is so
bland,
milquetoast and boring.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh yeah, if I had to pick somebody out of this cast who would play Jonathan Harker, it would be this guy.
And look, I know that it's just a thing of movies of this time period where someone will meet and they fall in love immediately. We still do that in rom-coms sometimes. I get it.
Pretty fucking hilarious, though.
But like literally, he meets this woman and an hour later, he's like, I love you. You're the love of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that most actors could overcome this character arc, but he is particularly ill-suited for it.
I agree. And I mean, again, probably the same thing with Harker.
Yeah. I think that that's a bit of a thankless role in Dracula as well, right?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
basically just a
inherently
stooge
so.
and a patsy.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard to make Jonathan Harker pop in a Dracula adaptation.
I think at least there it's a bit more interesting because you get to understand how Dracula uses Harker to get to Mina and so on. Like,
Right.
I think all the stuff with the Transylvania and luring Harker there so that we can, do the capitalistic enterprise of buying a house in London and so on. That's actually at least kind of interesting. Whereas here, just like, what is Frank's role in this movie?
And that's the thing. Like, Frank isn't much of an obstacle for Imhotep. And I'm not saying, like, I even want that to be the case. I actually kind of like how expeditious
Helen saves
Imhotep
herself?
is.
Yes. That's why she's such a great female character, is in part because, like, Frank is shit.
Well, I really like the way this movie handles reincarnation. I mean, I'm jumping to the end here, but she has that moment where she says, like, I'm me, but I'm someone else. So I like the fact that this movie takes it where it's like, oh yeah, like she is the reincarnated version of Anck-es-en-Amon, but she is still Helen.
She's still Helen.
Both of these souls are like alive inside of her, and they're like fighting. They're not. I could see a movie where they were fighting for control,
right?
But I thought that was the more ingenious aspect of this screenplay.
100%. It's the thing that I finished the film and I thought, that is a great idea. And I really wish that the film had focused on that as the more interesting crises.
Exactly.
But again, we just kind of don't have time. It comes up a little bit too late in the narrative, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jonathan Harker is here in Cairo, and he is there with Professor Pearson, who is played by Leonard Mundy. I'm not going to lie, I don't know why we have this Professor Pearson character in here, because I think he may be at the party when we're introduced to Helen, but he's not in the rest of the film.
Right. Yeah, because I thought at first, I was like, well, because we will eventually kill Sir Joseph later in the film. And I was like, maybe we need another old man, but that's what the role that Muller occupies.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like I don't think we need this professor character because we could just have Muller here.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sorry. He's here to tell us that the Oxford chap Norton went mad and died. But again, we could have had Sir Joseph tell us that.
Exactly. Like, you could have had any number of characters say that. So it's just kind of wild that we have another paid actor getting their SAG card for this performance. And I'm like, okay, go off, Professor Pearson. Yeah. Anyway, so Ralph died in the asylum, and then this is when Ardeth Bey shows up. So we, as an audience, very clearly recognize that this is Imhotep, although now he's looking dapper. I mean, he's still got some wrinkles, some facial scarring going on, but it's quite a bit less obvious. He just kind of looks old.
And I actually, because you're like, well, wait, he was a mummy. Did he just grow skin over the 10 years? I do like that that's what the remakes do, where it's like, oh yeah, he has to like suck the souls out of whoever opened the box, and that's how he becomes human again.
Yeah, it feels like we've got the special effects budget to pull this off now, whereas here you just understand, no, he just developed a really good skincare regimen after he took out those bandages. You know what? He had 10 years to work on his skincare routine. So.
I mean, whatever it is, the movie does not explain it.
No, the movie has no fucking interest in talking about that. It doesn't say where he got his money, what he did in the 10 years. It's basically just, I established this persona of Ardeth Bey, and now I can go around and say important things like, hey, everybody, you should dig over here because I think you're definitely going to find the princess's tomb.
Oh, I like this too, because he said the Egyptians are not permitted to dig up their own dead. So he's like, can y'all do it?
Mm-hmm. Definitely can't do it myself, but I would love to put your hard labor to work. So so we do. We immediately go over a couple of days later. Look, we've found Anck-es-en-Amon's crypt, tomb, whatever you want to call it. And we have a newspaper headline that announces the find, and then we just immediately move to the Cairo Museum.
Yeah, and we make a note that like the tomb is covered by the seal of the 7 jackals, but we don't really get a lot of like context for what that means.
What does that mean? Is that a curse? Do we need to be mindful of it? I think if anything, you just need to know this is unbroken. So nobody else has been in here, and that means that the skeleton, the mummified remains should still be intact. Everything that you find is going to be very exciting and rare.
I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be getting this confused with the 2017 Tom Cruise The Mummy, but because I just watched that yesterday, I'm like, oh yeah, but there's also a part where like they're in Iraq and they find a tomb and like blah blah blah.
No, this one is just Cairo. We're not grave robbing. That's the big difference. Okay, so yes, we're at the Cairo Museum. This is where an Anck-es-en-Amon sarcophagus has been set up in a very lovely display. So Ardith is there checking out essentially the spoils of his handiwork. He made this happen because he knew where she was buried, and now she's out in the open and accessible to him. What did you think of this close-up spinning map effect? I thought we were going to go into a flashback where we got to know more about something, and instead it's just kind of a cool visual. And then we move on.
And I think that might be all it is, right? Like,
I think so, yeah.
It looks cool.
Because there's no real time jump. Like, the next scene is this swanky party as we're introduced to Helen. But apart from that, I was like, are we supposed to connect him looking at an Anck-es-en-Amon to the introduction of Helen as if to say they're one and the same? I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we learned that she's pretty rich and powerful. She likes to stay in Cairo because she will not go with her father, who is the Grosvenor of Sudan. I kept wanting to be like, governor.
I wrote governor.
Gruz. There's an R and an S in there, and I don't know why. Like, if you look at Wikipedia and IMDb, it says her last name is Grosvenor.
Oh, yeah, I knew that, but I guess I just thought that, like, he was the governor of Sudan, but his last name was Grosvenor.
Well, if that's the case, I fucking hate it.
But maybe I also misheard.
I think you're probably right, because that makes more sense than what I've got.
But that's all. Yeah, that is weird.
All we need to know is that her father is not here. He is in Sudan. She refuses to go there. She stays in Cairo, and she's being looked after by Muller.
Right. And why is he looking after her?
I think she's like his ward, or he cares for her. It's kind of like, your dad and I are friends or something like that. They're both important people. Anyway, unimportant. All you need to know is that Muller is basically everybody's surrogate father. He's looking after everybody except for Sir Joseph, who also then dies. The other important fact that we learned in this opening scene with her is that Helen has Egyptian ancestry, though.
Yes.
Sure, that won't be important.
I mean, I guess this is the first movie of this type you've ever seen. You know, like, I'm sure in 1932, maybe people were like, "Oh, interesting. What does that mean?"
Oh, yeah. Are they planting a flag? Is that going to pay off later? We'll find out. So Ardith ends up introducing himself to Sir Joseph because, of course, Sir Joseph was not at the dig site. And Sir Joseph is very appreciative. Oh, my God, it's so great to meet you. And Ardith Bey immediately commits a kind of social faux pas where he basically says, I will not shake your hand and I don't want to come for dinner with you.
Yeah, is that he doesn't like to be touched. An Eastern prejudice is the phrase he uses.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not going to suggest that this film is engaging in... I mean, I think I said this in the outro that, yeah, there's probably some racism going on in the film because of the way we depict a culture that's not ours. Mm-hmm. Nobody associated with this movie is Egyptian, as far as I can tell, but...
the only thing I didn't look this up, but if the Nubian servant is... actually Egyptian. Oh, no, never mind. He is American.
He is American. I was happy to note that he is actually a black man because just the color contrast in a black and white film, for a hot second when he appeared on screen, I was like, is that blackface? It is not.
Yeah, thankfully. It is not.
Yeah. Okay. So Ardith Bey is like, yeah, cool, thanks. I did my thing, but also I don't want to spend any more time around you. And also, please don't touch me to Sir Joseph. I'm going to bring Greenall back for this. So Greenall says, when playing Ardith Bey, Karloff maintains a painfully stiff posture, something that makes him tower over the film's other characters. Combine this with his slow, often unnatural movements, and Ardith Bey is always surrounded by a tense, uneasy aura. This only intensifies when he shares the screen with human characters, as their more natural body language further accentuates Karloff's inhuman performance. His social interactions also display that despite his best attempts to embody a man of the era, Imhotep is never able to fully embrace his mask. So he is playing a role that he is not entirely comfortable in order to pass in society.
So funny because it's uncanny, which is funny because around this time is when Karloff, he wasn't even billed as Boris Karloff in the advertisements. He was billed as the uncanny Karloff.
Love that. It makes him sound like a magician, but I still love it.
Yeah, but basically that gives you an idea of how famous he was, where like just his last name was recognizable.
Absolutely. And especially considering he always plays these, I think the closest approximation for contemporary audiences is somebody like Doug Jones, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I think even the average layperson, if you say, oh, hey, it's a new Doug Jones creature character, people are going to say, can you tell me a movie? Give me a character that I might recognize. Whereas I think Karloff was such a household name. You were selling tickets based on Uncanny Karloff, because what kind of new creature was he going to bring out? They're all so exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Whether he had a lot of dialogue or a little, like he is magnetic and just gives off so much.
I will say his dialogue delivery in this film, it's so
soothing,
deep, and just, I think the ASMR potential is high, but I just love, he doesn't need to do wild things with the affectation. He doesn't really raise his voice or anything. It's so ominous just in the way he chooses to maintain an almost level-headedness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so the line that I mentioned earlier that I hilariously laughed at in my notes is when Frank bemoans the fact that the discovery of Anck-es-en-Amon has been kept in Cairo, and Sir Joseph says, the British Museum works for the cause of science, not for loot. And I just went, I'm sorry, let's talk about all of the stolen antiquities that we have taken in the name of colonialism back to different museums, because...
It's
ugly,
fine.
folks.
It's fine.
I don't know. We could do a little bit better with returning some of these cultural artifacts to their rightful owners and countries.
Yeah, but
anyway.
I mean, we are in. I'm sorry. It's the Cairo Museum in Britain.
So here's the thing. I think this is actually all meant to be set in Cairo. And these are Britishy guys who have gone there. And so it was just deeply ironic to me that Sir Joseph is like, we don't do the loot. And Frank is like, oh, why are we having to keep these things in Cairo? And you're like, you both suck.
I think it was around this time, because you hadn't watched this yet, and I messaged you, and I was like, oh, the male lead in this movie sucks.
Yeah. Just like, oh, Frank, maybe say less.
Because he's also mad that Imhotep pointed them in the direction of Anck-es-en-Amon's tomb. He didn't find it himself. Imhotep helped him, and he's emasculated because of that.
He has classic inferiority complex when it comes to his dad. It doesn't build into something grand like we would see in a more conventional text. I think the closest approximation to this character in the 1999 version is not Rick O'Connell. It's actually probably Jonathan, Evie's brother, where he's a little bit pathetic and he really wants to prove himself, but he actually manages to get himself out of scrapes somewhat regularly.
The problem is Frank isn't funny.
Well, I mean, there's almost nothing funny about this film. That's the other thing. I can understand why they ultimately opted to introduce a bit of comedic levity to that 1999 version. Like, this movie is just very, I guess it is just primarily focused on that romance angle.
Yeah.
Okay, so back in the exhibition space, this is when Arda, after hours, he is snuck back into this Cairo museum. He begins chanting with the scroll. He's hypnotizing Helen, drawing her to him. Of course, he doesn't know that he's having this effect on Helen. She's outside the museum. I love that scene where she's almost in a trance and she just begins desperately pounding on the doors.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the relationship between Imhotep and Helen / Anck-es-en-Amon is... I liked how much power he had over her immediately. Like and it's again where it's like, all of her past lives are buried deep within her somewhere, and Imhotep's presence has the magnetism to pull that one out.
Absolutely,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's fun, too, because he thinks that he's reanimating the mummy in the sarcophagus in this moment. That's why he's doing this at the museum.
Right.
He doesn't even know that Helen is the, descendant or reincarnation of an Anck-es-en-Amon's soul.
Well, okay, but that's interesting, though, because later in the film, when he does have Helen, he looks at the mummy of Anck-es-en-Amon and says, I could raise her right now, but she would just be a husk. Like, she wouldn't have a soul inside of her. So if that's the case, then what is he trying to do here? Raise the husk?
I don't think he knows that the soul has been reincarnated down the line. So he thought that maybe the soul was just still in that body kind of hanging out.
Got it.
I guess.
That makes sense.
That's my best case.
That does make sense, actually.
Okay, so needless to say, Helen does not make it into this locked museum, and also Sir Joseph and Frank have witnessed this, so they end up scooping her up because she faints, and Frank takes her back to their house. So Imhotep is none the wiser at this moment. So back at the Wemple house, do love it. She's on a fucking fainting couch because 1930s called. So Sir Joseph realizes that she's speaking ancient Egyptian, something that nobody has done in, countless time immemorial. So he ends up going off to his study so that he can consult his books and all this other shit. And this is also where we learned that the museum security guard has been killed. Although I will say, off screen.
Yeah, I wrote. I have the museum worker is killed. ... Question mark? Like we just hear like a thump. Yeah. Well, because I think they'll say later like, oh, he died of natural causes or something. And
Yes.
I'm pretty sure we heard a thump, which implies that Imhotep like whacked him over the head.
No, he fell when Imhotep gave him a heart attack.
Oh, the thump was his body. Got it. Okay, yeah.
But I mean, you're forgiven because the movie doesn't offer us any kind I don't even know if we see the body getting wrapped up or anything. It's just kind of like, oh, this guy's dead. Okay, move on.
He's gone.
So this is when Mueller shows up to pick up Helen. So we end up having a meeting of the minds. So Mueller and Sir Joseph step aside so that they can begin strategizing. And this leaves Frank with Helen as she begins to wake up. And here's the thing. Frank, not the most engaging character, not a very convincing love interest for Helen. But also, he says things like he fell in love with the princess by going through her things and unwrapping her.
I know. And then he says this about the mummy.
Yes.
And then like 2 minutes later, he's like, Helen, I love you. Helen, you shouldn't believe this fucker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, this is very much a contemporary perspective where we're looking at it, and his actions are just so creepy, so outrageous. They're way too fast. This woman literally was passed out cold seconds ago. He is poised over top of her like he is about to force himself on her, saying, I love you, and also he demands that she not laugh at him. And I was just like, oh boy, this is bringing back that Margaret Atwood quote of, don't laugh at Frank. You don't know what he might be capable of.
Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately,
anyway,
Frank's
Frank
not actually capable of anything. He doesn't do anything in this movie.
No, he is a walking body on the screen. And again, I will say, I really appreciate the fact that we don't make him into the hero.
Yeah. But we just don't do anything with him.
Yeah, I mean, to the point that you could say, well, why the fuck is he here then? Why couldn't we just give Helen more screen time and let her work some of this out? But again, I think that would actually make it a little too Dracula-esque, right? She's sort of Mina-coded, but she's not fully Mina.
Yeah, but I do like her reply to him, though, when she does say to him, do you have to open graves to find girls to fall in love with? And it's like, burn!
Ooh, sick. She got you good there, Frank. Okay, so meanwhile, in the study, after learning about the guard's death, this is when Mueller and Sir Joseph zero in on the scroll. So we know this scroll is in play. This has a part to play in all of this. So we need to make sure that nothing happens to it. But also, they seem to immediately put two and two together. Okay, Helen was speaking ancient Egyptian, which nobody should be able to do. And people are now dying in and around this sarcophagus display at the Cairo Museum. So it's just interesting because Sir Joseph goes, okay, Helen's going to be in trouble, which means Frank could be in trouble. And I was just like, oh, you're not concerned about what might happen to Helen? You're just jumping directly to your heir being in danger?
She's not his daughter.
Yes, it felt very like Oh, my son, my boy could be in trouble, so who cares what happens to that slut?
Like, if it was just Helen, he wouldn't have been bothered to get up. But because Frank's involved, it's like, oh, shit!
Sort of seems like. I mean, I guess we need to remember that Sir Joseph and Helen don't have a relationship to each other. Like, the son picked her up and carried her back to the house. This is the first time we've really met her.
Yeah,
but
Muller's the one
just
that
like,
knows her.
Do you not care about a woman potentially getting caught up in all of this? No?
I'm going to say no.
Apparently not. So, yes, this is when Frank comes in, and when he discovers, okay, so it all has to do with this scroll. We need to keep this scroll from falling into the wrong hands. Why don't we just burn it? And we're told, yeah, that could work, but it could also cause some ramifications.
Did they say what those ramifications are?
Well,
no, I think I think it's more so like we don't know what would happen if we burn this.
Right. Yes. It seems almost like a worst case scenario. If something seems like it might happen, let's burn the scroll because we know that it's either better off with us or being destroyed rather than falling into the wrong hands.
Yeah. I mean, again, to me, I'm like, well, you're thinking ahead because then you have collateral, basically. You have a bargaining chip if you ever need it. I mean, we never really use it, but yeah.
Well, we do use it, actually, when Imhotep shows up, which is where we're at. So Imhotep is at the door. Apparently, he can either sense the scroll or maybe the spirit of Anck-es-en-Amon and Helen. Not sure how he decided to show up at the Wemble house. But he immediately converts the Nubian, who is the servant who works for the Wemples.
So, is because Nubian, they're like the indigenous folk to south of Egypt, which is Nubia. So, do you think that's a commentary on? Because we do this a little bit in The Mummy 1999 too. Remember where he enthralls all of the locals, which I think they're also all Nubians, in Cairo, and it's like, I don't know if it's a commentary on the indigenous people or something of the country.
I think it could definitely be that. I chose to read it, and I don't think this necessarily removes your argument, but that this is a member of royalty or a power privilege position. So it's like, yeah, your ancestors would defer to me because I had the power, so you defer to me.
Got it. That makes sense.
It's still uncomfortable, obviously, but... So now the Nubian works for Imhotep and will not be coming to help anybody. So this means that he can just walk right into this room where Helen is back to sleeping on the fainting couch. She ends up waking up and he introduces himself as Ardeth Bey. And the whole time he's talking to her, he's just kind of inching closer and suggesting that they've met before. You know, he's feeling this connection, and she seems to be feeling it too, because she's not hypnotized, but she does seem intrigued by him.
Yeah, like she's not in a thrall, but she's enthralled.
Yeah, like she's not fully in her right mind. And it's kind of amusing because due to the makeup effects, Ardeth Bey looks quite a bit older than all of the other male characters. And, you know, Helen is a pretty young looking woman. So it's very much a, Helen, do you have daddy complex? Oh, no, sorry, you have mummy complex. No? Okay.
No, I got it.
Okay, yeah. So they end up coming upon this interaction, right? It's kind of immediately apparent. Something's going on here. Why is Helen interacting with Ardeth Bey this way? And Mueller seems to immediately then figure out, okay, so Ardeth Bey is not who he says he is. He's actually Imhotep. Are we really sure that mummy didn't just walk itself out and spend the next 10 years creating a new identity for itself?
I mean, I put this in my notes. I love how all facades are dropped like immediately, like 40 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, granted, that means there's only 30 minutes left, but but at this point, it's like, all right, there's no facades up. Everyone knows what's going on. Here we go.
There's no pretense. It's everybody put your cards on the table. What do you want? What are you prepared to do to get it? So Mueller essentially says, I know who you are, but I love that he covertly tries to test him, you know, hey, here's some hieroglyphics that we took off the scroll. Could you read these? And Imhotep kind of goes, no, I definitely can't do that. But he also then knows that the scroll is in the next room. So he begins to chant to get what he wants. And the only way to shut this down, because obviously the chanting will either bring the Nubian in, or it will put all of these people under his sway, or maybe just kill them, as we will discover. But Mueller says if anything happens to any of them, then the scroll is safely with somebody and will immediately be destroyed.
But he's lying.
So that's
though.
the leverage.
Right. But Imhotep says at this point, I can detect the scroll's presence in this house, so I know you're lying to me.
Well, he doesn't know that somebody else isn't in there with the scroll and prepared to burn it. But I do like that Imhotep says, well, you also know that you can't do anything to hurt me. So that's kind of fun. He does also say this one line that I didn't fully understand it. So he says they must return the scroll to him or die. Is the idea just that he will kill them if they don't return the scroll, or is there something more to it? Because we did talk about the curse.
Yeah, but I think
it's the former, right?
Yeah,
I'm going to kill you if you don't give me what I want.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Because, we don't see anyone actually die, like, from...
There's no curse.
From anyone,
heart attacks.
Yeah, it's always Imhotep's hand. Yeah, he's like clenching his fist in midair to squeeze that heart.
Truly. So I can't recall if we've seen it before, but this is the first really good example of when the camera just cuts to an extreme close-up of Boris Karloff's eyes with the Morticia Adams Halo-style lighting. And it's incredible. I love it. It's such a simple effect, and I think it's so effective.
Yeah, and everyone, you can go to the Wikipedia page for this movie, and like that's the picture there. So if you're like, what does that look like? It's right there.
But they know it's the money shot.
Yeah.
Okay, so Imhotep ends up leaving because he knows he's going to get what he wants if he doesn't have to fight them right now for it. But again, if you were looking for something more action bombastic, then this can feel like a bit of a letdown because Imhotep basically just goes home. He, looks into his little magical pool and he sees, oh, Sir Joseph has the scroll. There it is. He's going to try to burn it. Cool. Let me just stop that heart.
Not gonna lie, did not have magical pool of water on my bucket list for this movie, and I really like this addition.
I do too. Even the decision to frame the pool for us as an audience. So this is the frame of the screen when he looks in the pool.
Yeah.
It looks to us as if we are also looking into the pool.
Yeah, it's a really cool effect. I like it a lot.
I like it. And again, very simple, very easily accomplished, but it's effective.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sir Joseph has died of this heart attack, and the Nubian then comes in and swaps out the scroll, so it has not been burned. He now has it, and he substitutes in a pile of papers from Sir Joseph's desk and burns those instead. And I love that, we come in, we see the paperwork, and we think, okay, the scroll's been destroyed. Sir Joseph has died paying this price, which again was like, so that's the curse.
That's what it is, though. So I guess, when they were saying earlier, like, we don't know what's going to happen, they're like, oh, he sacrificed himself to destroy the scroll.
Yeah. So I think, okay, he paid the price, but now we're all safe. And I love that Mueller is never entirely fooled or convinced by this, though. He's such a skeptic, or he's so on top of this. He ends up gathering up some of the unburned paper, and he takes this with him when he and Frank go to pay Helen a visit. And in the car, he's like, nope, this is the wrong kind of paper. The scroll's still out there. We're fucked.
Right? Like, you think it'd be like Egyptian, like papyrus or something, and so he'd be able to tell the difference, but...
Yeah. It takes him a moment. He gets there in the end. But I will say this is one of those instances where I said, oh, bless the 70-minute runtime, because we don't need 5 extra scenes for him to realize, oh, we've been fooled. It's the next scene. We're in the car. This is the wrong paper.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Helen's like, I'm going to go over to Imhotep's really quick.
100%. Yeah. Because she is starting to fall increasingly under his spell. So she takes her dog, who is...
Wolfram,
thank you. So she takes Wolfram out for a walk. This dog is enormous. It sometimes looks like it's pulling the actress, and she is not controlling it. But we end up going to Imhotep's house. The dog does not like the mummy, so the dog is sent away. I debated whether or not to give a content warning for the dog dying, but we don't actually see anything. We just hear that it has passed.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't hear a whimper or anything, so it's...
No. So the dog is sent away, and this is where we get a significant flashback. So Imhotep says, here, look at my magic pond. I'm going to show you something. You're not going to remember it, as in Helen, you will not remember it, but Anck-es-en-Amon, you're going to basically use this to start waking up. Mm-hmm. So what do you think of this extended flashback sequence where we see him at Anck-es-en-Amon's death? We follow the sarcophagus down underground. He decides he's going to use the scroll. He angers the god, and then he ends up getting discovered and mummified. Yeah. Because it's like, this is not an insignificant chunk of runtime.
No, and this is actually one of the major talking points for this movie is this sequence. And that quote I gave earlier with the critic was like, there was two scary scenes. It's the opening scene, and it's this scene. It's watching him get mummified alive, which again, in 1932 would have been like, oh my God, like that's horrifying to see that.
Yeah.
I really like this. There's an effect that we do a couple times in this movie where when he's like doing the scroll, the statue of the god, like its arms move. And I think that's a really cool effect.
Yeah, it's holding some kind of object, and we see the arm move and either point towards him or something like that. Yeah, it happens here, and then it'll happen again in the climax, and it makes you feel like there is that afterlife, that relationship to the gods that cannot be dismissed. And I like that it lends the film a sort of supernatural element, but it doesn't go too far into it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, just watching the bandages slowly go around his face, cover his mouth, then go over his nose. It's like, and the camera holds on it too, so it's really effective.
Yeah, I liked it. And then we learned that his body was essentially dumped into an unmarked grave, so he's nameless for all of eternity. And then the workers are killed by the guards, and then the guards were killed all so that we could keep the location of this traitor, this person who was tried for treason, just for trying to reanimate the woman he loves for all of time.
And bear in mind, too, his father was the one who carried out this sentence.
No, it's her father.
Oh, fuck. I wrote his.
Because she's the princess, and this is the pharaoh, who is played by James Crane.
Okay, well, scratch
So in
that.
some ways, he's like, your dad totally had me killed and kept us separated for way too long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're back to the present, and Imhotep confirms to Helen that he's going to kill Frank. She's still out of it. She's under the influence in a way. He sends her home, and I don't entirely understand why, because it seems like he would want her to stay here because he's going to spend the next 15 minutes trying to call her back.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue it's like, well, he knows. Well, I'm sorry, that last part where he's trying to call her back, I'm not really sure. But it's like, well, he has her. He knows he has her. And he says he has to kill Frank because it's poisoning Helen's heart. So I wonder if it's a thing where it's like, oh, Helen.
Do you think it's a test? Like, go and see which part of you is stronger, the Helen half of your soul or the Anck-es-en-Amon part?
I don't think he's going to. Well, I think it's more of a. It's just an assurance, right? Like, I can't, if Frank loves you and you even love him a little bit, then that's going to impede on an Anck-es-en-Amon, like, taking over your body, or basically whenever I use ritual to kill it. Because we learn that he does have to kill Helen and then resurrect her as an Anck-es-en-Amon. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Helen has to be completely killed. Mm-hmm. Okay. So she ends up going home. Well, she goes back to Frank, and she admits the dog died. We get this interesting description. She doesn't really know the details. She can't recall them. It's like they've been eliminated from her memory, but she does remember seeing Bast, the white cat of death, standing on the dog. And again, I'm not going to suggest, like, we do see the cat and we do see the dog. We never see them interact. I imagine it would be difficult to get a cat to just stand on a dog, but
yes,
I would have kind of loved to have seen how this ended up going.
Yeah. But I mean, you're right. So she tells him, oh, the dog is dead. And I wrote my notes, what? That's the first time I heard of this.
Oh, okay.
And then he basically goes, he's like, I love you. And it's like, you just met her tonight.
Yeah. No, he's obsessed with her. There's a whole other version of this movie where he is the villain because he is a crazed stalker.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we're having these conversations of, Helen, what the fuck is going on with you? Like, where have you been? What is going on? And this is really where she has two different people living inside of her. So as you said earlier, she's Helen, but she's also a Anck-es-en-Amon because she has these memories. She doesn't know everything that's going on, but peering into the pool, seeing her own history has awakened something more fully in her. So I'm going to call Greenall back into this, and they suggest the queer battle between competing desires is evident in some of her lines. So there's death there for me and life, something else inside me that isn't me, but it's a life torn fighting for life.
I love
Save
this.
me from it, Frank. Save me.
I love this so much.
Here's the thing. It's deeply romantic. I think it's so fascinatingly complex and interesting.
Yeah.
Again, I really wish the film was unpacking it. But yeah, if you want to say, let's do a queer reading of this movie, here's a woman who's discovered that there's another part of her that has awakened, and she has to be saved by a heterosexual love affair with this man. Save her from this thing that she has discovered about herself.
Yeah, it's basically like whichever one, be it Frank or Imhotep, that she falls in love with more, that's going to dictate which persona takes over, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, girl, just accept that bisexuality is a real thing. And like, you can be, you know, your old Anck-es-en-Amon self, or you can be your Helen self. You don't have to pick between the two of them. But she also will later say, I don't want to lose my own mind and be someone else, someone I hate. And I feel like that's the Helen part of her speaking, where she's afraid of losing who she actually is to these new urges, this new persona.
Oh, but see, again, like these moments of dialogue juxtaposed with what Anck-es-en-Amon will say in the climax of the film. Like, I think that is so cool. Again, because again, you're like, oh, Anck-es-en-Amon's going to wake up. She's going to be in love with Imhotep. All's going to be good.
Yeah.
But even then, she's like, nope, this is going against the natural order of things.
Yeah, like I like this new world. I don't want to die. I love that Anck-es-en-Amon basically comes back and says, wait, you're going to kill me? You're going to do all these terrible things so we can be together? I'm my own person, and I don't actually want any of that. And he doesn't listen to her.
Yeah, she says, I loved you once, but now you belong with the dead. Like, and I think that to me was the most surprising thing of this movie, that his love actually rejects him.
Yeah. I mean, this is 1932. What an interesting conceit, because so much of the film is essentially about this doomed love affair. It's supposed to be a tragedy where, you know, oh, if Imhotep could only have been with Anck-es-en-Amon, and then she comes back and she says, hasn't the time passed? I'd rather be my own fucking person.
Yeah.
That feels so feminist for 1932.
Yeah, very much so. But, I mean, unfortunately, though, like, even though, like, we're gravitating towards the Helen character, I still feel like the film thinks the main character is Frank.
Oh my God. So boring. Thankfully, we do have more scenes with Helen where she is negotiating the complexities of her dual identity. So she asked for help from both Frank as well as Mueller. So it's like the Helen side is saying, please help me, ground me so that I can remain myself. But then when she's interacting with female characters like the nurse or her handmaid governess character, she's basically saying, you have to help me escape so I can get back to Imhotep. So I love this idea of the men will ground her to Frank and the women will send her to Imhotep. We also get a line from Mueller where he confirms that Helen will not be able to resist Imhotep's pull. She will succumb to it, or she will die.
Okay, I did write this line down. He goes, the pull is too strong to withstand and live. And he's like, I'm so glad you understand.
You got it, right? You got the stakes, everybody? Helen, you good? So anyway, they decide that what they're going to do is a very Dracula-coded plan. They're going to use this woman as bait. So they're going to let her go to Imhotep, and then they're just going to follow her, and then they will handle the problem. Of course, they don't confide in her about the plan or anything. Maybe they think she's compromised because she has two people living inside of her. But needless to say, that night, Frank ends up getting attacked by Arda through the pool again.
He takes a nap.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll watch over her. Nap. You know what? It's been a long day, Trace. You fall in love, you rescue a girl. Sometimes you just need that mid-afternoon nap.
He's on the fainting couch, which, by the way, is called a divan.
Oh, yeah, I'm never going to call it that. So anyway, he gets knocked out by Arda Bay or Imhotep, and Helen just wanders out. And it's great. Like, there's something about a somnambulist sequence. You know, I do enjoy it when Mina and what's the other girl? Lucy do it in Dracula. But it even reminds me of something like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. There's just something really interesting about watching people not fully in control of themselves, sleepwalking with purpose.
I mean, here's the thing, Joe. Anytime you use the word somnambulist, all I'm going to think about is Caligari.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which, by the way, we're getting a fucking remake of? How?
What?
Why?
We are?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Contemporary remake. It's wild.
Okay, sure. Why not?
Okay, so we have Helen / Anck-es-en-Amon showing back up at Imhotep's place, and he has dressed her in this princess ceremonial garb, so she's looking very Egyptian now.
So this is where that director wanted her to be topless, by the way.
Gross. Unnecessary. That's an asshole kind of move, and I don't need it.
It is.
So this is when Imhotep says he's just going to burn her quote-unquote dead shell, aka the mummified body of Anck-es-en-Amon. So he just picks it up, puts it into the fireplace, lights that bitch on fire.
Yeah.
Who cares? We're good. But now he needs to kill Helen so that she can become an immortal mummy like him and they can be together forever. And this is when she really says, I've got enough self-worth and I am a fully actualized person that I'm going to say, fuck that, because she's young and she doesn't want to die.
Well, and because there's a moment, too, because he grabs her by the arm, and when he pulls his hand away, like the dust of the skin on his hand has left a handprint on her arm, and she seems legitimately terrified. And again, this is Anck-es-en-Amon. This isn't Helen saying this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It feels like Helen is mostly gone for this finale. This is just Anck-es-en-Amon when she makes her way back to Imhotep. And yeah, she doesn't want this. She doesn't want him. She doesn't want to be an immortal mummy. She's adjusting to this new and exciting world. And I mean, you and I can have the conversation over that Tom Cruise movie, whether we give Sofia Boutella something like this to do, where she gets to experience what a contemporary world can offer. But that's another fascinating premise, right? Like, what does Anck-es-en-Amon look like if she gets the 10 years that Ardeth Bay had?
Right. Well, unfortunately, she's stuck there. She's like, the Bath of Natron, which I was like, what is Natron? I didn't know what that was. Natron, I looked this up. It's a naturally occurring salt mixture, primarily hydrated sodium carbonate with sodium bicarbonate, but it's used for cleaning, preserving food, and making glass. But its high pH and dehydrating properties were vital for Egyptian mummification, acting as a desiccant to dry bodies and a disinfectant to prevent bacterial growth. So she's sitting here being like, oh, you've prepared the Bath of Natron that I'm going to have to get into.
Oh no. Like, we've talked about skincare regime a couple of times on this episode, but no thank you. That sounds like too much of an exfoliant.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she'd be dead by this point, but still, it's like, or you're just going to throw me in there alive that will kill me. I don't know, man. Like, ugh.
I think he's planning to stab her because he has his blade at this point, right? So he's kind of half chasing after her. Again, if you haven't watched the movie and you're just listening to us describe this, folks, these are conversations. Like, this is halfway towards an action set piece, but it's really him mostly advancing on her with this knife and her saying, I don't want to die. I'm young and I kind of want to just experience what life can be like, and I don't want to be with you.
But she does give up at some point because she says, I no longer fear you, do with me what you will. So it's like she's accepted her fate to be like, well, can't get out of this.
Oh, interesting. I feel like that's a ploy to buy herself more time, because then she starts praying to Osiris to protect her. And then this is when we see, you know, the Egyptian god turn a second time. The figure moves with the thing. And it's a little magical. It's a little convenient, but it's actually kind of fun to watch this time lapse as Imhotep ages quickly.
Yeah, I mean, because it reminds me of the effect of the Wolfman, you know, where you're seeing like it fades into like a new stage of the makeup, and that's what we're doing here. But it's a thing where it's like, I mean, because again, we're about to come to the end of the movie, but there is resolution, I guess, because you know, Helen's back, and Anck-es-en-Amon, I guess, is now dormant inside of her, and she can love Frank and whatever. But we don't get like that kind of a resolution, you know. We don't get the hey, how's everyone feeling after this? It's like, oh, just the fact that Imhotep is dead, that's enough to end the movie.
It's enough of an ending, yeah. And we've talked about this on several of these Universal monster movies. When the threat is eliminated, the movie literally fucking ends. There is nothing more to be discussed. It is just wild, though, right? Where this movie doesn't even care to confirm that Helen will presumably get back together with Frank. We should note, Frank and Mueller showed up in time to see Imhotep get turned into dust.
Yeah.
And then it's like, cool, he's done. Movie ends. But like, we don't even get a kiss or anything like that. So.
No, so Frank holds Helen in his arms and tells her to come back. But then like, so yeah, I guess that, so yeah, you're right. We don't know if Helen has come back or if it's still on Anck-es-en-Amon. But basically, while he's holding her, the camera then pans to the burning scroll and then down to Imhotep's skull and then the end.
The end. Yeah, I think the intention seems pretty evident that Anck-es-en-Amon has been left in the past, and we have called Helen forward to the present through the centuries and so on, and what comes back is entirely Helen. But the reality is that the movie doesn't confirm that to us, and it could be very easy to read that, no, she still has two Egyptian wolves living inside of her, and one of them could be extremely bisexual.
We'll never know, though, because the sequel we get to this isn't even a sequel.
I mean, I'm not unhappy about it, although I could very easily see them saying it'd be pretty fucking simple to just resurrect Imhotep another way, right? Like, I mean, we do that in The Mummy Returns.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it's just because Karloff wouldn't return, but even then, I'm like, well, no, because they could have just recast the Mummy, because they recast Karloff in other stuff, so...
This is true, yeah. I wonder if it wasn't a big enough hit compared to Dracula and Frankenstein for them to say, oh, we need Karloff back, or we need to continue this particular storyline. Clearly, there's money to be made in the IP, but we'll just take the story in a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But that's the Mummy.
I was like, but that's the Mummy.
That's it.
Yeah, truthfully, I mean, I think that the aspects I like about this movie, I do really like them. But then, honestly, everything to do with Frank and Mueller, you're just kind of like, why are we here?
Yeah. They're not particularly interesting. I would have liked Mueller to be just a little bit more eccentric. You know, there's virtually nothing to distinguish him from Sir Joseph, except for the fact that Sir Joseph dies in the second act. And I think that that's a bit of a problem. Like, the characters they're just not distinguished enough. And I don't mind the lack of action set pieces. Yeah. It's a little bit bizarre compared to some of the other Universal monsters, which have had really standout set pieces. It does feel like we're leaning into Karloff's performance and the makeup, which I think are great. But at a certain point, you also kind of realize, oh, there isn't that much here. So the stuff with Helen and Anck-es-en-Amon and fighting for control of her body, I was like, that's the most interesting thing you've got going. But it feels like the movie doesn't know that.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe it's because it's a man's world, baby.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, Frank, we got to give him something to do. But even then, the movie's like, no, we're just going to knock you out for a bit.
Well, and remember, the director Freund didn't give a shit about the actress, so...
Yeah. Anyway, it's worth a watch. It's so short. It's not like it's going to take up a substantial part of your day, but I do think it's Karloff and the makeup. That's the reason to watch this film.
I agree. Yeah. And for Helen / Anck-es-en-Amon.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, yeah, that's The Mummy, everyone. So before we announce what we're covering next week, if you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Blue Sky and Instagram at HorrorQueers. Shoot us an email at horrorqueers@gmail.com. Find us on Letterboxd to keep track of all the films we've covered. If you want to chat with other listeners, please join our HorrorQueers Discord. That link is in the show notes. If you have a moment, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want more content, including ad-free main feed episodes, please support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/horrorqueers. If you subscribe today, you'll get 479 hours of Patreon content, including this month's new episodes on Hannibal Season 3, Episodes 3 and 4, Faces of Death, the remake, They Will Kill You, Lee Cronin's The Mummy, that 2-hour and 15-minute movie, and to coincide with that last title, the movie we talked about a lot in this episode, an audio commentary on Tom Cruise's 2017 The Mummy, as well as the conclusion of our coverage of Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Hill House on the requel tier.
Yeah, and that's all out there, so you can listen to all 10 episodes in one go if you wanted to now.
Yeah, so if you've been waiting to pull that trigger until we were done, we're done.
We're done, yes.
But Joe, what are we covering next week?
Okay, so if you listen to next week's episode on the day that it drops, it will be Earth Day. And what better day to celebrate Mother Nature, Trace, than Flora fighting back we're going to watch a M. Night film that we haven't covered yet, which inches him closer to being one of our most covered directors on the podcast. It's The Happening, folks.
Question for you right off the bat, Joe. Do you like this movie?
No.
Okay.
I like certain parts of it, but I hate the 2 lead performances.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I don't even... You know what? We're going to find out next week. I don't know. I have seen this more than once. I think 2, maybe 3 times in my life. But
okay.
Yeah, I just remember, I really remember Wahlberg and Deschanel's really bad acting.
Yeah, but some of the deaths go pretty fucking hard.
Oh, I mean, it's M. Night Shyamalan's first R-rated film. That was the marketing campaign. Well, everyone, get ready to run from the wind. But until then, we can cross out The Mummy.
Indeed, and cross out horror queers.